today on a special day. Actually, it's 1st July, and happy Chartered Accountants Day to all of you. And of course, in case by any chance there is an exception who is not just a chartered accountant but also doctors, so two congratulations because it's Doctors Days and Chartered Accountant Day. With this, I would like to initiate our discussion today. We have chosen a topic wherein we would be discussing the gray matters, challenges, and what are the solution. What are the, what are the ways where we can make our woman chartered accountant and the look or make more strong woman chartered accountant and give them suggestions which can help them. So there are a lot of women chartered accountant today who have joined us, and we, after our discussion with our esteemed panelist, which is Bhavna Doshi ma'am, a former Central Council member and running her own practice at this moment. We have our past president CAR Bhupati sir from our Bhupati and Company, and also past president Mr. VP Rao sir from VP Rao and Company, and of course CA Payal Agrawal. She is currently partner with Deloitte India. It's indeed our pleasure to have all of you today, and for taking out time for us for this. And with this, I would like to initiate our discussion by saying that I know it's not easy to become a chartered accountant. It's a completely different life altogether. And you can say a cherry on the cake is if you're a woman with a lot of responsibility in addition to your profession with this, but we have a lot of successful women chartered accountant doing extremely well. And one of such case is our dear Bhavna ma'am. And she was, and while I was discussing with her, we were talking about why we have so very few whom we can actually count in numbers, women on councils, on institute council, and why is that so, and what it takes to be part of the council. Bhavna ma'am, it would be great to hear from you today about what it takes to be on the council and how to make a difference as a woman chartered accountant.
Thank you, Tripti. Is the video on? Because we can only see the background.
Yes, ma'am, it is on.
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Tripti. It's such a pleasure to be connected today. And first of all, my compliments to all our CA members on this CA Day, the day which we celebrate for being qualified, being member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and the qualification, the education, the training that it has provided has truly empowered all of us to be powerful, to be catalyst to change, and that's what we need. You know, we need to be stronger, we need to be confident, we need to be exercising our authority, and that helps us to bring about a change. Tripti, that's what you spoke about, that how do we bring about a change? Change we must, but how? And that's what today we will discuss, how, what, and where of a change. And when we talk of change, I feel we all, men and women, chartered accountants and others who are in leadership position, who are educated and who have the ability and reach, can bring about a change. That change could be anything. We need change in the society, we need change in the economic empowerment, we need variety of changes in variety of areas of empowerment. And that's where the role of women comes in. Women are significant, very influential change makers. And in fact, there are several studies which have shown and which have actually demonstrated that any organization which is gender diverse, which has gender balance, performs well. And one of the reasons is that there is contribution of women, and that's comparatively greater than others. And that's what brings about a change in the organization's performance. That's all we will talk about today as we go along. But let me just first answer the two questions which you raised. One is, of course, being a woman, how difficult it is. So, and particularly at the time when I qualified, not only in the council, but even in the profession, we had women whom we could count on fingertips. Very few women, and we could say, oh, there is so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. And that's what it is. And when I was to enroll for chartered accountancy, I qualified, graduated, and people were asking my mom that, you're sending your daughter for CA? Do you know what it is? It means she'll have to go and work in office, go on audits, this, that, and so on and so forth. And after all that, will you ever find a boy for her? And my mom said, "Dekha jayega, tab ki baat tab." She is very keen to study, and I want her to study. That's how I started my chartered accountancy. And of course, over a period of time, I was very fortunate to be in an organization which was very forward-looking. I did my articles with Bansi Mehta and Company, and Bansi was very forward-looking. He would always support, though he was very against us going outstation for audits, but otherwise very supportive, and he would give us every possible opportunity to participate in all activities. So whether it was appearing before tribunal, appearing before commissioner, or doing variety of, participating in variety of assignments. So that's how we got basic, the knowledge base and the experience to face the world. And if you ask me about how I got into the council, the thought, when we joined articles, Bansibai was serving on the Central Council. He then went on to become the president of the institute. And he encouraged us to contest the election and join the regional council. So first, I went to the regional council, became the chair of the regional council. And after that, and my husband also is a CA, he was also in the regional council before me. When he stepped out, I joined the regional council, then he joined the central council. And then when he stepped out, I joined the central council. So, and of course, as you know, central council is a very, very tough election. But I was very fortunate that with support, love, all, I could win the election, not only win the election, but twice I won with highest number of votes from the region at the central council. I've had opportunity of being with Mr. Rao as well as Bhupati. So we have worked together, and it was such a fun being in the council. And though as someone was putting it, that in 30 men, you are the only woman, how did you feel? I thought that it was no different at all. Nobody treated you like being different. You were treated as a professional, and that was the best part of it. And I think in our profession, all are treated equally. So we are, in a sense, gender neutral profession. We are a professional, we are a CA, chartered accountant, and then nobody then thinks and says, oh, she's a woman chartered accountant, can I consult her, or can I engage her in any of assignments or employ? I don't think that's happening in our profession, and that's where we are very fortunate. And we have Payal also today, so she'll also talk about it. I'm a great admirer of her, the way she's been coming across, and the way she has embraced the new area of technology for several years and specializing in that. So we'll hear about it, but that's also one area of change. When we started a few years ago, technology was not, chartered accountants were not in that space, and very few ventured into that. They embraced that change, ventured into it, and accepted it as a new area of practice, developed in that. Today, of course, many are there, but Payal has really made a mark for herself. We'll definitely love to listen to her and get her thoughts.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. That was really insightful, and thank you so much for sharing what it takes. I know we need a specific session for what it takes to be on the council. I'm sure it's not easy. I've heard Sumani ji speaking about how much time it takes to, you know, even plan a campaign, and the kind of, you know, challenge, the kind of hard work. And specifically, ma'am, if you say that, you know, as a woman, I was talking to Rao sir, and he was saying that as a woman, you have to have personal commitment. You have to take care of your family in addition to whatever you choose, you know. You can't compromise, you can't choose between the two, and you have to still. So maybe as a superpower which you get, and you are working harder, maybe you're putting in more extra hours. You are one set of example for all of us who has been on council and gracefully have taken care of it, and has I think you continued for 2 terms, and that's marvelous. And those are the few tricks or tips we would love to hear from you after we hear from Rao sir. Rao sir, what do you suggest for a woman chartered accountant? What is that? I know we have some set of challenges, we have some set of commitments, and we have to push ourselves to be where, you know, other, you know, without thinking about gender, you have to push yourself harder. But what do you think is very important in as a chartered accountant, like we were discussing, and specifically as a woman chartered accountant, we have to ensure, or 5 things which comes to your mind, which we all should keep in mind while we are planning our futures?
Thank you very much. Before I answer the questions, let me wish all the chartered accountants who is witnessing this webinar a happy Chartered Accountants Day. Today, the 1st July, we have completed 71 years. We are just moving to 72 years. I'm very happy about Bhavana Madam, and also my good friend Mr. Bhupati, and we are close friends so many years. So thank you very much for arranging this webinar. And I am a very good friend of Mr. K.G. Somani. Yeah, coming to your point now, today, see, there are out of 310,000 chartered accountants, there are around 26% women CAs. And out of 10 lakhs, about 10 lakh students, there are around 41% are girls students. That itself shows that how good this profession for the women or girls. Really fantastic. Really, I don't find any difference between a woman chartered accountant and men chartered accountant. Okay, I consider both are equal. And CAS is the very good profession for ladies, women. So in my family, we are around 16 now. My brothers, children, and my 2 brothers are chartered accountant, 2 brother-in-laws are chartered accountant, their children. Out of that, around 6 are girls. You may not believe it. And they are doing so good. And everybody says in my around, I am from a village from South Canada, but everybody recognizes our chartered accountants family. Now they are against us because why? You are monopolizing the chartered accountancy. My point is, this is a very good course for women particularly. And in my office also, out of 30 students, we are around 20 girls. I give preference to them. So that way, there is no shortcoming as far as women chartered accountants are concerned. They have the terrific future, all right. But what I am, suggesting that they must see. After all, the happiness ultimately happiness is very important. Okay, one teacher gave one question papers to the 100 students. What the question was, what do you want to be after I grow old? Then everybody answered their ambitions, engineer, chartered and so on. So only one person wrote, I want to be happy. That teacher stunned actually. Ultimately, what is important is the happiness. Now that is where you have to choose. How you will become happiness? There is no, see, another thing is ambition has to be there. But ambition with ethics will bring you success. Ambition without ethics and moral values ultimately will be a failure. So that is very important in the profession. Ethics is most very important ingredients, either in practice or when you are in employment, right? And women CAs are always intelligent. Look at the Bhavana madam. She is so intelligent. She is expert in indirect taxes. And throughout India, maybe the outside also. She is very popular. Bhavana Joshi means, you know, when you have to ask who is Bhavana Joshi, like that. So like that, so many chartered accountants, if they come up, it will be very good for the profession, and I have no doubt. And even now, if you see, go to the branches, you know, every branch have one or two lady committee members. In the council also, one, I think from Bombay now it is there. Every time, one or other two council members there in even the council, I mean, women chartered accountants are in the council also. So they're just slowly coming up. But you must see, suddenly from 1949, how many ladies chartered accountants are there? Very few. Now, 2020, over 71 years, what is the progress you've made? Every year, your percentage is going up. It means around 50% of the students, 50% are women, or 41% now. So it will go up, and more girls will take up this course because of, you know, because this will give a lot of independence to you also. Another thing, my suggestion would be to the women chartered accountants, you must have a very good planning. So I've seen some of the senior chartered accountants, either in Chennai or in Bangalore, anywhere, they have the discipline coming to the office 9 o'clock, leaving the office 6 o'clock, and it, you see, passion is very important. That's very important. If you are interested in the practice, you must do practice. Don't go for employment, right? If you are not interested in the practice, don't come to practice at all. Don't blame. Actually, when I became chartered accountant in 1976, I give one example. I applied for branch auditor of Vijaya Bank. There, one Mr. Sundaram Shetty was the chairman. Then he called me. I went to this office and I went to met him also. Why did you come? I was, sir, I want a branch audit. Then he asked, no, before you leave this place, I'll give the appointment letter as an officer of Vijaya Bank. I said, no. He got angry. These are from South Canada, my place. He got angry. No, you want only practice. Yes, I want practice, nothing else. Then, but I continued the practice. I am so passionate for the practice. So like that, you have to choose. If you are in between, you will never be successful. I am telling the women chartered accountants, be decisive. And you must have the leadership quality. What are the leadership? You should be honest. That is very important. Integrity is a must, not only in audit or in practice, also yourself. Okay. And you must be good in choosing the employees, the human resources. That's also very important. Many people fail because they are not able to identify good assistants for them. Okay, then you have to believe them. And you must have the capacity to team building. So many leadership quality is required. So there, if you practice and if you see that, now ultimately what you have to come up in either in practice or in employment. So this discipline, planning, and attitude, and every day same thing. I mean, whatever you think, you must be able to do it. That is very important. This is my suggestion to the women chartered accountant. And women chartered will come up. I am 100% sure they're doing well. They will do it. One day, I think we can see, now it is 21% or 26% are women. One day after 20, maybe 10 or 20 years, 50% women membership will be there in our institute. You may not get surprised. I don't say, you need not worry about this, your webinar, how to empowerment. You are already empowered. Where is the question of empowerment? You are already empowered. Your attitude is more important. And you are the central point everywhere. Not only in the practice, in your employment or in practice, but in a family also. Without ladies, none. Without women, can you see any family happy? Cannot. So you have more responsible than men chartered accountants. Then we actually, we are just, not so serious about that. But all the seniors are so serious, and I am sure they will do very well. There's nothing special suggestions required, in fact. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I really appreciate the facts which you've shared about women chartered accountant, that we have reached to a 46%. But that's bring to the whole discussion which we are here today for, that even though we have 46, why to wait for another 10 years? Why is it not out of those 46, we have till date got one president woman chartered, who is a woman And that's where the whole whole thing is. We have dedicated women. They're clearing the exam with flying colors. What is that, you think? I will come to Bhupati sir. What is
Can I
that? I
answer
think
this? Can I
uh,
answer this question?
okay,
Okay,
okay, sir.
just one
Yeah.
minute. Actually, we are expecting Bhavana Doshi to become president. I don't know, somewhere she failed at the last stage, failed, I think. Otherwise, she would have become president. Anyhow, that's only I wanted to say. We'll find another woman who will definitely going to become president. Right.
You know,
I'm
if I may just interrupt, it was all the men voting for a woman.
wonderful. So I think we can definitely take that as a feedback, sir. But I would love to hear from Bhupati, sir. That what do you think, sir? I'm sure it's not the way things like if you talk about in industry in manufacturing, now government has 3% procurement policy where they have to buy from women-owned business. This is something which we only suggested, and it has been implemented. But now when it came to using that policy for the favor of women, there are no women who are manufacturing high value items. So is that something? Let's get on the real part, Bhupati sir. Let's get something which is okay. We are happy to hear uh, the the toughest thing. That's why we want you to speak. Is what is that is lacking? I mean, is it something very serious, or is it something which is political? Let's let's talk the real part of it. We don't have any woman president till now, and what is that stopping our so talented women from being there? Is it Paul? It could be. I would really appreciate a real answer right now, Bhupati sir.
Uh, Let me begin by saying happy CA Day to everybody. Uh, in our office also, we have more girls now. And I would, my prediction, my gut feeling is that in the next term itself or the term thereafter, you will have many more women in the council of all the professional institutes. I'll tell you the reason. If you take the Western region, for example, some years back, it was only members from Bombay who would get elected because majority of the people were in Bombay. Today, it's getting diverse because we have a spread of chartered accountants all over the region. Same thing is happening to Southern region also. Previously, all the members were from Chennai, but now we have people from Hyderabad, from Bangalore, from all over Cochin, etc. The same logic I will extend with the number of chartered accountants, lady chartered accountants coming to 26% now, and gradually the number of students also, girl students increasing now, the number of women chartered accountants automatically increase. So what women should do at this point of time with the help of technology should network among the women chartered accountants. And while networking, we must have in mind that each one likes to have some importance. Whether they deserve it or they don't deserve it, they want that importance. And if you want to climb the ladder, you have to be a little flexible there. If you are not flexible, then the probability of you climbing the ladder is less. So you must take them into a fold, and at the same time, the ability to draw the line and say, I'll bend up to this much. Beyond this, I will not bend. I will not give up. That art, that ability, that characteristics one has to acquire to climb the ladder. So my feeling is with the number of women chartered accountants increasing and with help of technology, the number of women council members will increase. And the point with Bhavana said, men voting for women will not be there. Women voting for women itself will come a reality, and you are bound to succeed. As BP Rao said, there's no need for empowerment. You are already empowered. There's no need for empowerment. But I have been reading some research material on the obstacles of women working in any organization. Even our own organization, if I have a girl chartered accountant and a boy chartered accountant appearing for interview before me, although the boy would not have performed as well as the girl would have done slightly better in the interview, but I may select the boy considering the requirements of my office. As you pointed out, that high value items, the reality is we don't have such many people doing it. Similarly, when I take somebody for an assignment and that assignment is a far-fetched place and it's very difficult to commute, and we'll find it difficult to provide the necessary safety for a woman to go there, we have our reservations and we will not select the woman. So this is a reality. I cannot say, come what may, I will send a girl student and take the risk. I'm playing the life of somebody. I will not do that. So this is a real. The second point I would like to say is this is out of research. I'm not saying all of you are like that because of the research which has thrown up this. The women are uncomfortable talking about themselves. Talking about themselves, they are uncomfortable. If you compare to men, men talk more about themselves and get away with it also. Sometimes it's not the truth also, but they get away with it. But women are hesitating to talk. They think that others should put them on top. Therefore, the message which I am trying to give, you accept the responsibility and take yourself to the top. You tell them, yes, I could achieve this. This is the value I could bring to the table. Therefore, you should be recognized. If you do that, it's fine. That is one point. The other point is networking. When we ask questions about networking, they have personal prejudices are very strong for women. Whereas men, personal prejudices, they will be a little more flexible. I'm not showing whether all of you will agree with this. This is my personal view which I am sharing. If you don't like a particular thing, you never go close to that person at all. For climbing the ladder and to have the networking within the office or any organization you work here. So a couple of more points as we travel, we could share with you. These are the two primary points which came to my mind at this point of time.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting that. I remember when I joined KG Somani & Company, the first thing was to ensure that we have women chartered accountant. We didn't have, and of course, as you know, you are right, because you have to be careful. India is not such a safe place to send women for any difficult assignment. But also this highlights a very important aspect is when I get to know from a woman chartered accountant or chartered accountant, if you call them at 6 o'clock or you call them at 8 o'clock and they have reservation in doing things, even back at off, when you are at home. So it's okay that you can't travel, you have to reach home on time. But as a woman chartered accountant, I think one thing which we have to practice is to be prompt and to be available if we see ourselves growing. If we are like Rao sir said, that it's more important what you want to achieve at the last. If you want to be happy and you're okay with the kind of job you're doing and you want it not a very hectic job, is perfectly fine. But if you want to push yourself, you have an objective to reach at the top of the ladder, it is important that we are flexible, we are a good networker, like Bhupati sir said. It is very, very important to be a great networker, and you have to keep what people are looking for and have to keep their interest ensured. So with this, we would like to go to our next speaker, Payal. And we have spoken, Bhavna ma'am spoke about technology, so important, Bhupati sir, Rao sir. And now we have a woman chartered accountant who is partner with Deloitte and is of course taking care of technology side. Payal, I would love to hear from you.
Thanks, Trupti, thanks. So I echo some of the thought what Mr. Rao and Bhupati and Bhavna ma'am said. So I think one of the greatest impending issue today we have for our CA fraternity is saying that how many women are there in leadership positions, and worldwide, this is a global issue. And obviously it's a larger issue here in India. If you look at the statistics perspective, World Economic Forum is saying it will take another 200 years to have gender parity. Imagine 200 years. Today we are 25% of chartered accountant and 40% is at a base level. See, if you look today also at any corporate, any organization, 50% at the base level is new normal. There is no discrimination. People get there. The only problem we have is in the leaking pipeline. When you reach from your level 1 to 10th level, it reaches up to 7 to 8%. And that's the major problem of saying that how do we see women at the top, be it the CXO, be it the president level, be the chairman, be the directors. Though we are making a lot of laws saying that we need to have independent director as a woman, but is that the only solution? I think there are 4 or 5 challenges what we have, and more so for women CA, And the first very important is the self-limiting factors of their own thought process of whether they can be there, And a recent survey which was done again with World Economic Forum, 80% of the women chartered accountant, they want to aspire to be at the CXO level. But 60%, as Mr. Rao said, they don't have a strategy or planning in place saying that how to reach there. That's a major obstacle what people have. And 60 have a, self-belief that they don't have the skill set to be there. And that happens because of the unconscious bias which is there in our environment. When you, as Mr. Bhupati said, when you have a male colleague versus woman colleague, and there is some unconscious bias of the protection that leads to not even choosing women. I'll give you an example. I had recently had a unique assignment which requires somebody to be at an office at 5 a.m. in the morning, and he was supposed to travel and the location was in Malad. And I raised it, and being a woman, we thought, okay, let's give this equal opportunity to all male and female colleagues. And you will be surprised if a female colleague who raised their hand saying that we are comfortable of going there. But if the choice was given to my manager, I'm sure he would have excluded all the women professionals and given this opportunity only to the male professionals. That's another major challenge. One of the biggest challenges is reskilling ourselves. As a chartered accountant, we have deep in-depth knowledge about finance, accounting, auditing, the technology piece, how to upskill yourself with the technology. Today, if you see, digitization, digital is the new normal. And as a chartered accountant, the contribution we can make to this is humongous. When everybody is going into artificial intelligence, machine learning model, digitization, they need the functional expertise. Just imagine if all our chartered accountant and more so women, if they can upskill themselves into the technology, the kind of contribution they can do to artificial intelligence is humongous. This model needs functional expertise. And we as a chartered accountant, I think we have in-depth knowledge which generally doesn't come with MBA. The MBAs people come, sorry, I'm not trying to say MBA, one is better than off. It's about the in-depth knowledge one carries about the functions. And as a chartered accountant, we carry that knowledge. And as a woman, one skill set is there, which it's a God gift. Being meticulous, being able to drive it to the nth level. I think as a woman, the passion which you have for working is humongous. And that needs to be contributed to the technology. I, as a chartered accountant, I saw this coming in and I changed. And I did CISA and DISA way back in 2002. And I was like one of the first students of DISA when it was inaugurated by the CA Institute. And how many of us, majority of the chartered accountant do CISA or DISA? But it's also important to upskill yourself and be relevant in today's environment. That self-limiting factors that I cannot do technology, I think that's the biggest obstacle. And the change which is required is sponsorship. Most of the women, as they grow in their career, they restrict themselves only to the operational lines. It's important that they get into the key function, the strategic functions, and contribute to it. Technology being the enabler with their diverse function, they can contribute to it. And that's what is required for CA fraternity. And CA women professional can really contribute to it, to the technology. That's what I want to say. And sponsorship from woman to woman and men to women is something that can lead us to be at a leadership position.
Thank you so much, Payal. That was really insightful. And we have today with us our special guest. Of course, you all know him, Mr. P. Ramesh, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. He's ex-chairman Deloitte, and I'm really grateful that he could join us today. And so we all were discussing about what and why we don't have till date a president who is a woman. And we have different inputs. We have great inputs from all our esteemed panelists, and why and how we can be a little different. It would be great, Ramesh sir, if you can give us some insight, because you've headed Deloitte, you have led it. You must have chosen your partners. I know that there is a great combination of people in Deloitte, and what women has to do right and how they can be more powerful. We have great input from everyone till now. Bhupati sir has given us few tips to make sure that we push ourselves much stronger and in a more strategized way to lead. It will be really great if we can hear a few things from you, sir.
Thank you. I'm not sure I will be able to add anything beyond all the wise men. Mr. B.P. Rao, great to see him. Mr. Bhupati, Bhavna, I think these are all luminaries. And we look up to them, and here you're asking me to add something beyond all this. Let me nevertheless attempt, since you gave such a wonderful introduction. Just by way of background and in terms of experience, I have witnessed at very close quarters women breaking the glass ceiling. And in my own family example, my sister reached one of the topmost positions, or the topmost in a way, in Indian Space Research Organization, where being part of the satellite launches, etc. And Abdul Kalam named her as one of the 5 women who influenced him in his life. She was the recipient of the National Award for Best Scientist, whole host of things. Despite having to manage a family, despite extensive travel, very, very tough situations, and in a man's world. It is not that you'll find in the space research a lot of women there and, breaking those glass ceilings. Second is the organization I come from. And the organization I've been part of had 34% women across levels. But as it came to the top, it was only 12% women in India. And in the global position, it was not too much different. So what are some of the reasons, and what could be strategies in a way? In terms of reasons, we find in India particularly that there are 3 stages where women professionals drop out. The first is the stage where a woman gets married. And till then, absolutely no issue there. I've never had a situation where a woman would come to me and say, I can't travel, sir, because I can't do outstation work. On the contrary, I was being asked, saying, why are you discriminating? Why are you not sending me? I used to say no because of safety concerns, etc. The onus was on me to defend something, never in the case of women to say, no, my father is not allowing, a mother is not allowing. So I've seen that change over the years. So really from that source, no. So at the point of time of marriage, there is a disruption because in Indian culture, a woman goes to the husband's house. So there is a change at the home front, which could lead to some sort of settlement time or transition time they require, and they drop out, and maybe in many cases they join back too. The second is when they have the first child and the child becomes a school going age. That is where there is a temptation to spend, and somebody has to spend time to go. And I really understand that, because I have not seen a man saying that, no, don't worry, I will take the child to school, I'll be with the parent for the child, I'll go for parent-teachers meeting, and you please carry on. You're in a great organization, and your aspirations to become the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants.
I think I'm lucky in that case, sir. I know there are exceptions, but
I know, I'm just saying. But then somebody has to allow you to do that. And the third is at a point in time when the board exams happen at a later stage. That is the critical phase in life of the child where the future career could take shape. And at that, those marks form the foundation for everything. And that's where the mother would then say, no, I think I must devote time to,
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Okay. So the mother has to, will step out. So these three are the vulnerabilities. So we need to address the pipeline issue, because the pipeline is what produces the leaders. But the second part, so even assuming there are exceptions, like in your case, there was an exception in the case of Pepsi's chief also. And she said, particularly, she said, I became successful because I'm an Indian, she said. And she said she was in US and she came to our program and she spoke so well. She says, look, I have also 2 children. I also grew up in this, and she became the chief of PepsiCo, as you know her. So what she said was, in the initial periods when children were born, she would invite, whether it is the mother or mother-in-law or relatives, to visit US. She said we had visit USA tickets, and which enabled them to travel all across US at a concessional rate. So we said, come and spend time with us 2-3 months. In the process, of course, children get taken care of. So he said the Indian ecosystem enabled me to succeed, or the Indian cultural ecosystem enabled me to succeed, which is not the advantage which the Western world has. In the Western world, it is not that, it's a joint family, everybody gets taken care of. She said, I was a beneficiary of the Indian ecosystem. So therefore, if you extend that, and I think I've seen that in our organization, which is hoping to reach a certain goal, first the organization needs to have a buy-in into it. And the organization should set a goal. In this case, though I'm not with Deloitte now, but Deloitte had set a goal 2 years ago, with just the equal to sign. They said, we will ensure that there is an equal representation at all levels, meaning a 50% at all levels. So that means when you address the pipeline, I said in our India, we had 34% at professional level, but you had 12% at a partner level. That is not equal to. You need a 50% at a partner level. So when you set a goal and you work towards it, and what was the outcome? Today, Deloitte Global has a woman chairman. Deloitte Asia Pacific has a woman chairman. Deloitte US had a woman CEO. So there is a conscious effort the organization also has to put to. So ICAI has to set a goal saying 50% of the council members will be women, or set apart something, an affordable percentage. It could be 50, could be 30, and then say we will make a women president in the next 5 years. Unless you set a goal and push, it can't be, the burden can't be on the woman. She's in a man's world. And in many cases, the council, Bhavna will bear me out, maybe the only woman, or maybe a handful, maybe 2. And how do you expect them to get all the votes of the men if there is no conscious collective decision by the men with a certain goal, with a certain time frame to bring up a precedent? And I think the country also went through all this women's reservation bill. People criticized it to saying, why do you need reservation, etc. But all I'm saying is there is a level of affirmative action which is needed. You need to set a goal, drive everybody's behavior towards that goal, and make a conscious effort. So part of this in organizations, and what we instructed across in Deloitte, is even a recruiter. He has to say, if there is a boy and a girl of equal caliber, he has to choose the girl. He has to achieve that 50% target. You can't say I can't. Unfortunately, yes, the boy will lose out. But you are creating a goal in a way, but not compromising on quality. Why can't ICAI do it, or ICSI do it, or ICWI, or anybody do that? I realize that the United States is yet to have a woman president. India has had a woman prime minister. Sri Lanka has had one. Israel has had one. Many countries. Today, the New Zealand prime, if you say, read the news reports, COVID successes have been in countries which are led by women. So, but still I drive home the point, it has to be action on both sides. Women having the confidence that yes, they are not unequal in any manner. They have, and they should also not walk the superiority path. They are equal. They need equal opportunities. They don't want they should not seek charity or sympathy. But all what the organizations should do is recognize that equality and drive towards correcting inequality and creating all the systems in place to ensure that. As I said, recruitment. When you are promoting individuals as partners, your conscious bias has to be towards promoting women ahead of men to at least achieve some percentages. I am a man and I'm speaking this, but I've been a beneficiary of women in the boardroom and I've seen the contribution. They're not inferior in any manner to men in any aspect. They bring a completely different perspective, and we all should recognize that, irrespective of where we are from and what the dominance is of men in any field. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for adding these wonderful points. And if you see, we have men also in our gathering today to ensure that the message, it's not about creating an imbalance. It's just maybe somewhere, like you said, a pushed effort can help. So with this, I'm really happy that brought out such important aspect where maybe a suggestion could go like today we have member of parliament, there is a reservation if we can have some kind of institute of chartered accountant coming forward and coming up with such steps. I'm not saying 50 or something, it could be 15%, 20%, and it could definitely add. With this, sir, now we'll open up for our open house, which is the whole idea of this session was not just to listen, but also to talk and give suggestions and questions. So I would really appreciate if there are questions, if you can raise your hands, I can quickly take up those points. And I'll be happy to, in the meanwhile, as we are getting more questions, I would like Bhavna ma'am to add few points as I'm collecting few questions. I'll just unmute you, ma'am. 1 second. I think you're muted. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So one of the points that we did discuss was work-life balance, because that's what, in a sense, was a tone or a thought process which was coming in, that how do women manage this work-life balance? And first of all, I'm of a very strong view that it applies to all. All working people have this challenge of maintaining work-life balance. Men also face the same. When they go very late home or they are not able to pay any attention to family, they also are told, what is this? You're working all the time. What about us? So it's work-life balance which is bothering everyone. But how do we manage? As women, I think we are really very strong multitaskers. So we can generally manage it well. By and large, if we accept the responsibility, we are able to handle it very well. And Ramesh will bear me out, all the people in the large organizations, the women even at partner level are able to handle the situation so well. Whether it's the partnership meeting or dealing with their team, they are always there handling the client. Whatever time be it or whatever it takes, they are there. Yes, there are sometimes challenges, and that's where we need a whole societal setup or attitude change. Recently, and that's what I mentioned yesterday, recently I was addressing one program on International Women's Day, and we were chatting and asking people, what are the challenges they see. One of the girls said that she's a chartered accountant. Her husband is also a chartered accountant working with a very large organization. And once she wanted that her son was not well and she had some very important work in office. And that's where she didn't want to take off. Otherwise people will see that, oh, you are not available, so how can we trust you or how can we give you responsibility? So she told her husband that the son is not well. Can you stay back home? Her husband reluctantly said yes, but said, okay, I need to inform office. So he calls up office and says, I'm not well, I'll not be able to come to office tomorrow. And she said, I was so furious. I really had a fight with him. That why don't you have courage to tell your office that I'm staying back because I have to look after my son? But that's the mindset which we all will have to work for and change. And I think it's a change which all men will have to bring about, organizations will have to bring about. And that's where, Ramesh, I feel, large organization like ours will need to bring about that change and say that it's very much acceptable if you are not coming. If you're not coming because you have to look after the family or take somebody to hospital and whatever. See, in Western world, paternity leave is so common. We also need to think that way. And I think in technology space, they have embraced it. They allow paternity leave, and people, particularly young people, are very, open to saying that I'm staying back because my wife works and I have to, look after the child who's growing up. So I think
Thank
that's
you,
what.
ma'am, for adding such an important point. I mean, a man telling their boss that I have to go home because I have to take care because my, it's something we have seen in movies, and that also Bollywood or Netflix series. Yes, but it's so relevant to bring that change. And with this, we have our first question from Chartered Accountant. We have Shikha with us. Shikha, can you please ask or give your suggestion, please?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I just want to check I'm audible enough.
Yes, you are.
First of all, I would like to thank Tripti for organizing such a session. I have seen all these popular faces only on the magazines and the books. It was so nice to connect with all the senior people on this virtual connect. So thank you so much for that. And I really liked all the feedback and all the pointers given by all the senior people. It's really, really helpful. And I have a question to Payal Agrawal specifically. So she did mention a very relevant point that we need to upskill ourselves on the technology. So I also want to do that, but my question is how we can, continuously upgrade ourselves with the new technology which keep on coming. So, so that is my question.
Shikha, thanks for the question. Very relevant one, correct? So in today's era, you need to be very mindful when we talk about technology. It's not about you need to know everything about it. It's about you need to pick and choose the one which is relevant for you in your profession and which can create a transformation. That's one piece that you need to select. The second thing which is very important is now saying that how do you upskill and where do you go and upskill yourself, correct? Today, if you look at, and COVID have enabled this quite a lot in terms of the platform. If you see, you have Coursera, you have Codecademy, you have Udemy, you have LinkedIn. There are so many of them available for you to do a self-learning at your self-paced learning portion. You can do that. Over and above, CA Institute also have now a huge portion of technology training that can be made available to you. So once you are very clear in terms of what kind of upgradation you want to do in your skill set, then choosing and going to the relevant platform and doing it is much easier. I think the struggle or the challenge comes into the place saying that in this scenario where there's so many technology advancement which is happening, what to choose and where to choose from is a major challenge. Once you're clear on that, things will fall into the place. I hope I am able to.
So my question was more specifically on how to really choose what is the upcoming technology which I should be upgrading myself on, and so that I am more relevant and my skill are more relevant.
See, from a CA perspective, if I look myself as a background, I'm also a chartered accountant by qualification. The first thing which I did was get accustomed to information technology, because if you are a practicing CA, it's very important that you understand the entire IT infrastructure and technology piece into it. The information system audit is very relevant, correct? That is one thing which you should upskill yourself. The second thing which is coming nowadays, it's all about digital marketing. How do you audit digital marketing? It's all about digital AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning models. At least conceptually, you should have an understanding of all of these at a high level, even to understand that piece. And then you can identify relevant courses on that piece. So digital and information technology, these are the two things which you should definitely address it.
And thank you so much, Payal, for taking that up. I think, Shikha, it's very important. It's not just about, being active in your own domain. I mean, technology today is about even any monotonous step we are doing can be replaced, like we have macro in Excel, can be replaced with artificial intelligence and support, and there are solutions coming. So with this, we have KG Samaniti also joined us, and I would like him to conclude, but before that we have two questions, one from Ruchi. Ruchi, over to you, please.
So, hi everybody. First, I would like to wish a very happy CA day to everybody over here, to all the participants and to all the panelists. So, my question is like I was with corporates for 6 years, took a break for some time due to motherhood, and now I have started my practice. So, what should I do to network, gain clients, and also how to increase my confidence? Because I sometimes feel I'm lacking in the confidence because while working with corporates, you are working in one particular domain. Like I was handling taxation, direct taxes only. So I was well versed with all the tax laws. Now, when you are starting your practice, you have to be aware of accounts also, indirect taxes also, because if a client comes to you, you cannot say that I don't know accounts or I don't know indirect taxes, especially in the initial stages. So how to gain that confidence?
Who is going to answer?
Rao sir, would you like, or anyone would like to take this? Yeah,
No.
Rao sir, please.
See, you have to jump. You already jumped into water. You will come out successfully. You will learn swimming. Absolutely no problem. You may be expert in it. That is good. That is the one area. Other areas, when you continue the practice, automatically you'll get into that. And see, after all, necessity is the mother of invention. When you have to answer the client, you have to know. You have to learn. It is easily it will come. Nobody is expert. Nobody was expert when we started the practice, including me. I did nothing actually, except adding. I mean, articles those days, 76, 76. Used to only see the books and trial balance sheet. Give to the this one. No tax, no sales tax those days. No other audit, nothing much. A little bit audit was there. Other than that, nothing. We learned ourselves. You have to have a good network with your seniors. They will help you actually. Whenever doubt is there, you ask the senior, they will doubt. That's how we learned. So this is the thing. My advice is, you need not worry at all. You started a practice, very good thing. You will be definitely successful.
I really feel, Ruchi, I would like to add what sir was saying, that first of all, I don't think so anyone today expect a chartered accountant to answer everything, because now these are so, it's not possible. I mean, the kind of changes we are happening, and nobody expect. It's okay to tell your client that this is a particular domain you're dealing with, and it's okay. They have to understand. Today, even in case of doctor, you cannot go to an eye specialist asking for the pain in your head, like headache, for the headache, right? So even CA profession is changing. And with this, I would like to take up our next question with Ashwini. Ashwini, please, I request you to please ask your question or whatever suggestion you have.
Namaste, this is Ashwini here. First of all, happy Chartered Accountants Day to everyone. It's really nice. I think I became part of Women Innovator Group just recently. I'm based out of UAE, so I think a lot of discussion surrounded around, I think in terms of the women and a lot of things, but it was a very interesting discussion. I have no specific question. I just want to say thank you so much for this platform. And it's really nice to connect with so many experienced chartered accountants, and just to be kind of stay connected and to understand what's really happening. So like I said, no specific question, but a big thank you. And perhaps the more Zoom meets I attend, I guess I'll kind of know exactly how we can work together, and we can connect with each other better. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ashwini. And I think Bhupati sir want to add something. Yes, sir, please.
I thought I should give another perspective to it. And since there are many women folk there, the women empowered there in this group are more, I would like to take a confirmation from them whether my understanding is correct. Is it true that women have a tendency when they start their career to impress, and they work a little harder than what they are expected to do? They spend little more time at that level, and as they progress in their career, when they reach the age of taking up higher positions in their organizations, higher responsibilities in the organizations, they become tired and they opt out at that point of time. They are not opting out of the organization, but they opt out of the leadership position. Is my understanding of your working style, is it correct? If it is correct, you have to change it. If it is not correct, I'm happy about it.
No, it's not correct, sir. I will say, I'll agree to that point, saying that women slightly work harder in terms of, and that's more because of the ecosystem or somewhere, their inner self-limiting thought to prove themselves. But when women opt out, it's not because they're tired. It's because at times, they also have a self-limiting saying that whether they can take it all, that's a phenomena. So the leaking pipeline is not because of tiredness. So I will not agree with you on that aspect of.
Why I said that was, there is a research organization in the United States, and they have done a research, and one of the obstacles they found out for a woman to scale heights in the organization wherever they are working is this point. This is out of talking to various people at various organizations, and they have tabulated it, applied a statistical tool, and arrived at this conclusion. So if that is the situation, as Shruti pointed out, we have to understand what our limitations are and try to address that. If this is really a problem, if it is arising out of a research, I would not like to reduce the value of it. But your understanding, yes, I agree. But this is what.
So you were asking the question to the wrong person. I mean, she's already successful and she's doing marvelous in her career. So maybe your research can go to we can actually, it could be a great point to explore, because you're right. Because over the time when the demoralization or if you're not, achieve what you're trying to, there are possibilities. And if you're fighting hard in the initial years, there's a possibility you go mum about it, or you just want to retire out of it. So it's very well pointed by you. But I have a very quick question from all of you. And the major issue which a woman chartered accountant face is after marriage relocation. We see that most of the women are getting married and they go to a new town and they don't know what to do, although they're technically so well equipped. They can, so can you, before we end this session, can you quickly give one tip for such a woman who has recently got married, chartered accountant, and how she should start her practice, or what she should do? Because I have come across people who have been relocated and they don't know what to do now. So any tips, Ramesh sir? Yeah, Rao sir, I'll just. Ramesh sir, you want to take up? I'll just unmute Rao sir.
Unmute Mr. BP Rao first. Let him.
Yes, I'm just unmuting him. Sir, can you unmute yourself? Yes, Rao sir, please.
Now this COVID-19 situation will be helping to the women chartered accountants wherever they go after the marriage. Anyhow, everybody is working from home. This will definitely help them to great extent, and this situation will remain for next 1 year at least. So I think that's the one thing. Another thing is, if they move out any town today, the best thing is to start practice there only. The another thing is, being a chartered accountant, they're expert in finance, and any job they can do it. Even investing also. They can advise investing to their clients and to the general public, their relatives like that. So their knowledge is so good. So any job they can take up, or any hobby, anything they can do it. So that, they'll be happy. That is the thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, anyone would like to add? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I think Ramesh wanted to speak. Ramesh, you.
No, I think Bhavna, Bhavna, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that no one size fits all. It will all depend on specific individual circumstances, individual specialization. Because when a woman moves to a new city, a new place, she first needs to establish herself there. So she will have to first of all work and have the entire infrastructure set up. And then she has to start thinking, what do I do? Today's generation, particularly the younger generation, I see that they think through it much, much ahead. So if they are planning, they would have thought through that this is what I'm going to do, whether I'll take up a job or I'll set up a practice. Setting up a practice, to my mind, is in a sense not the first choice of the younger generation. because they say that that's not something which I want to do. I don't want to go out and, get the clients today. They are all settled, and I don't want to do those mini-teeny jobs where I'll do some return filing here or do something here. So again, it will depend on what a person has done, what experience that person has, and then whether that person at that point of time, it provides a great opportunity to see if you want to change track. As Payal was saying earlier, that you were, say, in simple traditional IT. Can you now look at embracing technology and changing, moving into that direction? Then that's a great opportunity for a woman to think through and engage in, develop, and of course, then.
Yeah. Can I make a few points? First is purely from a gender DNA point of view, I think women are the most adaptable. Every woman gets married and goes into a completely new family, starts from afresh, adapts to a different environment, doesn't know the people there. And later on that becomes and she succeeds in that environment. So purely from a gender DNA, that quality is there. Second is, I don't think from a relocation point of view, there is any difference between men and women. In fact, the same issue is there even if you're not relocated. We talked to Tom Friedman, and Tom Friedman, we asked him that in this technology world where technology is disrupting everything, what you are capable of and what you are doing will no longer be relevant tomorrow. And suddenly you are almost like an illiterate person. What should you do? So amongst of the 5 points, the first point he mentioned was think like an immigrant. An immigrant, say from Syria, maybe a doctor in Syria with all the degrees, travels all through Turkey and all that, finally reaches Germany, the promised land. The qualification is not valid, language is different, cultures are different, the wealth is not there because all the wealth got left behind in Syria. The person starts afresh. How does that person think? And how does that person build a new life? I think it is the same thing. You have to realize that even in your present job, in the present location, you can be disrupted. And tomorrow you'll suddenly find your piece of work which you were doing is no longer relevant. Or a new thing has come like GST, which is zero based. Everybody, it's new for everybody. And everybody has to learn. And then everybody starts adapting to it. Who knows about GST in the past? And look at the number of chartered accountants who have taken up. Look at the number of women in the IBC as RP professionals. The first case was done by a woman, Mamta Binani from Calcutta. Now, there are other examples I'll give you. Take the case of Arunima Sinha, who was the leading spokesperson. She's the world's first women amputee to climb the Mount Everest. I've heard her speak. She's lying in the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, never done mountain climbing, maybe have climbed a few steps in the house or some other place, but she's never done mountain climbing, and she losing one limb with the dacoits having pushed her out of a train. She decides to climb the Mount Everest and succeeds. So you've done something you've never done before and yet becoming a world mark. So I still think where there is a will, there is a way. It's a question of thinking like an immigrant.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for adding such a relevant point. And with this, Bhupati, sir, you would like to, you wanted to add something? Else we'll...
We do have people coming from outside Chennai after marriage, relocating to Chennai, and we give some preference to them. And we give them on a training module. We we give them some smaller assignments, give them where they have to look for solutions. They work for some time, they show some skill sets, and then within a matter of 6 months, they are able to gear up and perform just like any other person. But we do have some problems when people come from smaller places to cities. In these smaller places, their exposure is rather limited. In those cases, we give a longer hand-holding period for them. If you give 3 months for for them, we give 4 months and we try to improve. And we have been quite successful in that.
Thank you so much, sir, for adding such a relevant point. Instead, I really feel, and I really feel one thing which a CA profession allows us to start an office at home. So even if you're not able to relocate to a small place and you don't see any industry or someone who can give you a job, you can start a small practice and you can associate with bigger firms in metro. They all look for opportunity. So this is one piece which comes to my mind. All the women who are listening, who chartered accountant, who really feel they've relocated but still energized to do something, you can reach out to our senior people. Today you have so many senior people you wanted to interact with, and I'm sure all of them will be happy with open hours to start and give you some kind of opportunity. I would like KG Somani Dadaji to please conclude the session, and I'm really thankful for him to give me reference of our past president Bhupati Sir, Rao Sir, and Bhavna ma'am for joining this session. Dadaji, please.
Yeah, I think good evening to you all. Yeah. I'm happy to see Mr. Rao, Mr. Bhupati, and Mr. Ramesh, along with Bhavna ji. I think when Tipti said she's trying to actually organize a program, specifically for women chartered accountant, the first thing that came to mind was Bhavna ji's name. Just a day earlier, I called her to say a very happy birthday. And the second day, I just mentioned to her. I'm so happy to see all of you here. And thank you for sparing the time. I know today's program actually has clashed with the Institute program and many other programs. I'm aware about it. Having said that, the way I look at it, I've seen the change coming in last 30 years. I can say for early 80s, the number of women chartered accountants was very, very little. But I think I still recall one of the members. She was actually among the first to qualify our postgraduate examination at that time. I think prize winner. And now, of course, in last 30 years, we can see the number of people joining. It's a very sizable number of people. And it was heartening to see some of them actually leading our examination at the topper. I recall 85, 86 when one of the young girls from Pune, she topped the list. So I think today I can see absolutely no difference, and the girls today are able to take all the challenges, including traveling across the world, so that those changes, I can see them. And I personally see that the number now is almost coming to a very substantial number. So I think having said that, I can say that we all really need to do a lot more than what actually is. Particularly, I'm actually concerned, and I've been following it up with the Institute. Although a lot of effort has gone, but then still the quality of audited accounts, in the country needs to be actually improved. Each one of us need to really ponder upon as to what can be done. And I think this is a matter of concern, which I'm continuously trying to follow, do whatever little I can do it in my own way. Having said that, I should once again thank you for this program. And thank you, Tipti, for sparing and inviting people. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And with this, we bring the session to a conclusion, but very great feedbacks which we have got from all our panelists and our participant. Will be compiling a report, and I really appreciate if our past president, council members, and to-be council members soon, any possible woman today in the session. And if we can bring up a paper, we have great points being suggested by Ramesh sir, Bhupati sir, and Rao sir, and Bhavna ma'am, and Payal. If we can push that, and our past president can make sure that that has been put across to the institute. So thank you so much once again for your valuable time, everyone. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rao.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Ramesh.
Yeah, thank you, Bhupati sir, Mr. Rao and Bhavna.
Okay. You're in Hyderabad or Bombay?
Fortunately locked in Hyderabad for the last 3 months, not in Bombay.